Good evening and welcome. Tonight, this is the Daily Report with me, Victor Muyakane, and of course, Catherine Simaloy on sign language. It's my absolute pleasure to bring you the news, but first, let's have a look at the highlights. Whose body was badly mutilated at Langata Cemetery is a relative to 3 others killed in Isli, as DCI arrests 2 more suspects. Also tonight, 57 cases of abduction and kidnapping were reported from June 2024 to date.
Nobody who is above the law, even other person breaking the law, will be guilty.
22 found alive, 6 dead, and 29 still missing, according to Inspector General Kanja. Plus, I am now in charge. DP Kithure Kindiki takes charge as Deputy President, promising to support the President and accelerate the implementation of the bottom-up economic agenda. A gas leak disrupts KCSE exams in Makande School in Mombasa as KCSE enters day 5. Even as a student in Juja battles through her papers with an oxygen cylinder and tubes fitted to aid her breathing. All right. Once again, if you're joining us right now, this is, of course, the Daily Report, and we begin now. Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki has pledged to support President William Ruto to achieve the bottom-up economic agenda. Speaking after taking charge of the Harambee House Annex office of the Deputy President, he said he takes pride in his performance at the Ministry of Interior, outlining his achievements while in office. He also pledged to address the ongoing cash crunch in the counties as he takes charge of the Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council, IBEC. Take a look.
That day was and shall remain the most momentous and significant day of my life. After serving my country for a quarter of a century as a law lecturer, legal practitioner, senator, majority leader of the Senate, deputy speaker of the Senate, and most recently as the cabinet secretary for Interior, I now take over office as the 3rd deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. It remains astounding how a son of Kenya, born some 52 years ago in Tharaka, a remote part of the then Meru district, and in a humble homestead of a rural clergyman and his housewife's spouse, could eventually get the opportunity to serve this country in the esteemed and high office of Deputy President of the Republic. My assumption to the office of Deputy President has presented me with an opportunity to reflect on our country's past, present, and future. In my reflections, during the past 1 week, I have come to the profound realization that Kenya, our homeland, is a country like no other.
In other news, the National Police Service, through the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, is currently reviewing various investigative procedures to ensure they are anchored by law, or rather in the law, by introducing Criminal Investigations Bill. According to the Inspector General of the Police, Douglas Kanja, this is among the strategies that the country's policing service will use for Kenyans, or rather to serve Kenyans, to save Kenyans also from abductions, kidnappings, and other crimes. Appearing before the Departmental Committee on the Administration and Internal Security, Kanja issued a status update in regards to kidnappings and abductions occurring within the country. Moige William with that report.
6 people have died so far, while 29 others are still missing, according to statistics released by the National Police Service, where 22 individuals have been found alive. the police revealing that there have been a total of 57 cases of kidnapping and abductions that have since been reported countrywide from June 2024.
When IG, before you go there even.
In a response to the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security regarding kidnappings and abductions occurring within the country, the Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja submitted that already some measures were in place to address the matter. Among them, sensitization of officers on their core values of professionalism while operating within the rule of law.
This bill is going to assist us a lot.
The head of the Blue Boys and Girls hinting on a new bill that will give a guide into investigative procedures, the Criminal Investigations Bill 2024 that seeks to ensure investigative procedures are anchored in law.
As a policing service, as an investigating agency, to be supported such that we can also be able to use technology to enhance our capability in terms of actually investigating and breaking through some of these very, very complicated and complex cases.
Kanja submitting that some of the reported cases of abduction and kidnappings were lawfully in police custody, where in some instances the police were just performing their duties of investigating crimes committed during the Anti-Finance Bill 2024. Former Interior Cabinet Secretary, now Deputy President Kithure Kindiki, also commenting on the issue.
Even other person breaking the law will be prepared to be escorted by the law.
Abducting people, and also a framework for accountability of any rogue officer or officers who will be involved. And therefore, that should be the task of the next minister going forward.
Shedding more light into the anti-finance bill protest that commenced on the 18th of June and reached its peak on 25th June 2024, figures shared by Kanja indicate that more police officers were injured during the unprecedented events witnessed earlier in the year. According to the police, 495 injuries to police officers were reported, 347 injuries to civilians, 42 fatal injuries to civilians, with at least 1,552 protesters arrested. Moige William, TV47.
At least 8 KCSE candidates collapsed after they inhaled a noxious gas that allegedly leaked from a nearby factory. The students from Makande Girls Secondary School were preparing to sit their Kiswahili paper when the incident occurred, forcing the school administration to transfer them to a nearby boys' school. Reports now indicate that the affected learners were rushed to hospital and later discharged to continue with their examination. Andreen Kilemi tells us more.
The administration of KCSE exams was halted for a moment at Makande Girls Secondary School when 8 students collapsed after inhaling an obnoxious gas that allegedly emanated from a nearby factory. The students were rushed to Mombasa Referral Hospital for treatment. 3 were treated and released, while 5 others were forced to sit for their Kiswahili paper from hospital before they were released to sit their afternoon papers.
The information that we have is that it moved like a wave, it was like wind driven, and so but it did not come from the school. The gas, there's no leakage in the school. It was not part of that. It comes from outside this particular area.
It is suspected that a paint manufacturing factory near Makande Girls High School is the primary source of the harmful gas that not only affected learners but also residents of Makande village.
Mzee wangu wako asthmatic, alianza kusiniz, nikashangaa na nini. Sasa kijana wangu akaniambia hiyo harufu mama inatoka wapi? Akamwambia fungueni madirisha. Tukafungua madirisha. Lakini pia tukitoka nje harufu bado iko.
Sasa tunaomba tafadhali wahusika katika serikali hii hali waiangalie kwa sababu si hali nzuri.
However, Mombasa County Governor has affirmed that the factory will remain closed as investigations are underway.
Tumepeana instructions, public health, immediately with immediate effect. Hiyo factory ya rangi inafungwa mpaka utafiti uweze kumalizika.
This comes as the Ministry of Education underscores its zero tolerance on exam malpractice. Meanwhile, a primary school teacher died at the Likoni ferry while on his way to the Kenya Primary School Head Teachers Association conference that ended Thursday in Mombasa. Andreen Kilemi, TV47.
Now, as the KCSE candidates continue with their national examination across the country, Terry Charity, a candidate at King David Junior and Secondary School, is sitting for the exam while depending on oxygen support equipment. Kinto Fula reports telling us how Terry's state has led the family to financial constraints.
At the sewage estate in Georgia Town, preparations are underway to take Terry, a KCSE candidate, to school. Beside books and pens, these oxygen support equipment are also packed to ensure a conducive environment for her in the exam room. The journey then sets off with Terry being carried into this hired taxi, which transports her to and from school. She arrives at school and is then carried into exam room, where her father connects these devices to ensure her daughter gets adequate oxygen supply as she continues with her exam. Terry has been going through this since January this year. After being hospitalized for a while, doctors prescribed that she needed to ever be on these devices, a requirement that has continually strained her parents financially.
Hawezi kaa bila oxygen. So tukaambiwa tunahitaji tununue mashini za kutumia kwa nyumba. So ilipindi akae mwezi mwingine kwa hospitali kwa sababu angetoka bila mashini.
So it's quite a hassle and it is very, very expensive to maintain her.
Despite these challenges faced by Terry, her teachers have shown great hope and praised her for continued dedication to education.
Hata ni miongoni mwa wanafunzi ambao wanafanya vyema kwenye darasa hilo. Na nina matarajio atafanya vyema pia.
Quinto Wafula, TV47.
Detectives investigating the murder of a woman whose body was badly mutilated and found dumped at the Langata cemetery have today arrested a taxi driver believed to have helped the main suspect of the murder, Hashim Dagane, to transport the body of the deceased for disposal at the Langata cemetery. The officers also discovered the deceased's clothes dumped at the Langata cemetery grounds. Samira Mohammed with the details.
3 days after the arrest of Hashim Dagane, the main suspect in the murder of 3 women from Nairobi's Eastleigh area, and Ndeka Abdi, sleuths from the DCI have discovered clothes believed to belong to the deceased, which are believed to have been dumped at the Langata cemetery by Hashim Dagane. Acting on intelligence leads, the detectives established that one of the suspects, a taxi driver who was ferrying Hashim Dagane, was moved from his hideout in Eldoret Town, not only handled all the payment transaction relating to the client's stay at an apartment in Nairobi's Lavington area, but was also the person who drove Dagane to dump the remains of Ndeka at the Langata cemetery in a Toyota Vitz that has since been recovered. According to Ndeka's family, Ndeka went missing on 24th October, which the family reported at California Police Station.
We missed that sister of ours on 23 last month. We have reported the matter to the police station, California Police Station, and we have the OP number here.
The family is now calling on the government and relevant authorities to expedite on the investigations to ensure that justice is served to their slain kin.
Requesting the police to give us justice since that sister of ours have been murdered very badly.
Speaking before members of the National Assembly, Deputy DCI boss John Onyango stated that Hashim is from Ethiopia and had murdered one of his wives before fleeing to Kenya. He added the suspect has so far been linked to 4 murders and all are that of women, among them Ndeka Abdinur.
Easily is twofold. One is the girlfriend, that the body was skeleton, was dumped at the Langata cemetery. The other one, the 3, we are still trying to get the motive.
Samira Mohammed for TV47, Nairobi.
Folks, the re-entry of Donald Trump back into American politics, this time as president, comes a day after Kenya sought Beijing's support in integrating Kenya into BRICS, the forum for cooperation among a group of leading emerging economies, famously known as the BRICS Alliance. BRICS includes 9 countries: Brazil, China, Egypt, Ethiopia, India, Iran, the Russian Federation, South Africa, and the United Arab Emirates. With Kenya expressing interest, should she face East or West? George Maringa interrogates.
Extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president.
As Washington, D.C. readies itself to welcome the new president,
Welcome to Nairobi. Welcome to
Nairobi welcomed Li Ji, Secretary of the Central Disciplinary Commission of the Communist Party of China, for an official visit.
And Kenya, I want to assure you, is committed to promoting this partnership across Africa and also upholding the One China policy.
The visit, seen as a milestone in the Sino-Kenyan relations, which are increasingly extending to economic and geopolitical issues, President Ruto took the chance to seek Beijing's support in integrating Kenya into BRICS, a group of emerging economies that includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. International relations expert Professor Mashere Munene opines that the entry is long overdue.
And when the BRICS develops its own systems, like they've been talking about a financial mechanism, which is not dependent on IMF and World Bank, alternative, it should be there. And it doesn't need something to happen in the US or in Europe for it to do that. It should be doing that anyway.
This potential rapprochement could allow Kenya to diversify its alliances, striking a delicate balance between its traditional Western partners and the East.
The issue is not what Trump does or does not do. That has never been the issue, whether it's Biden, Trump, Obama. The issue is how well Kenya is prepared to protect its own interests and advance them, irrespective of who is where.
Whether Kenya faces East or West, IMF or BRICS, at the center of it all is a populace that seeks economic empowerment. The question is how to get there. George Maringa, TV47, Nairobi.
And still connected to the American election, Vice President Kamala Harris has officially conceded the 2024 presidential election to Donald Trump, marking a significant moment in American politics. This concession marks the end of a historic campaign, as Harris was poised to become the first woman president to reach the Oval Office. Ruga Ival has more.
Arriving at Howard University in Washington, D.C. to deliver her concession speech, Kamala Harris declared to her supporters that she is conceding defeat after garnering 223 against 290 electoral votes garnered by her competitor Donald J. Trump.
The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for.
The current vice president had initially envisioned addressing an audience at Howard University on election night, anticipating a moment of triumph with a more optimistic message to share. Taking the stage at her alma mater, she was met with a sea of notably somber faces trying to comfort a mood far removed from the celebratory tone she had hoped for.
Sometimes the fight takes a while. That doesn't mean we won't win.
President Joe Biden commended his deputy for her resilience throughout the campaign, proudly declaring that, to date, selecting her as his running mate had been the finest decision of his political career. Donald Trump is set to be sworn in as the 47th President of the United States of America on January 20th of next year. In a statement marking the occasion, United States Ambassador Meg Whitman celebrated Trump's victory, emphasizing that it represents a continued commitment to advancing both Kenya's and America's shared goals of greater prosperity, security, and respect for democratic values. She noted that the relationship between the two nations has been evolving over the past 60 years, expressing confidence that this positive trajectory will persist in the years to come. Ruga Evil, TV47.
Now, folks, counties will remain in a cash crunch for a while, following a standoff between the Senate and the National Assembly after the two houses failed to agree on whether the counties should get 400 billion or 380 billion during the start of the mediation process. As our senior political reporter Elizabeth Mutuku reports, senators are accusing their National Assembly counterparts of threatening them, especially with roads maintenance levy funds, as well as National Assembly representatives insisting that the case by the Council of Governors on the same should be withdrawn. Let's have a look.
The first mediation committee sitting witnessed a heated debate between senators and members of the National Assembly, with each side defending their hardline stand on the proposed revenue share for the counties by both houses, but senators insist counties must receive at least 400 billion shillings.
We are playing from the home ground.
Despite co-chairperson of the mediation committee and National Assembly Budget and Appropriations chairperson Ndindi Nyoro lay bare the situation culminating from the lost finance bill, senators led by Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna read mistrust in the National Assembly on revenue matter.
And Parliament take a position and say, this is going to be the principle going forward. If there's a shortfall in national revenue, who should bear that responsibility? So that next year and the year after that is not an issue. And we don't fight about that.
Looking at the many counties that have been crying for pending bills to be paid honorable chair.
Members of the National Assembly have urged their Senate counterparts in consultations with Council of Governors to consider dropping the court case on road maintenance levy fund over what they termed as lack of goodwill while presenting their revenue issue on the table. The High Court has already extended the order freezing distribution of 10.5 billion shillings from road maintenance levy fund.
That whoever comes to equity must come with clean hands, come to this negotiation with the clean hands. The Council of Governors are not here with us. They're not coming here. They have not sent you to represent them in this mediation committee with the clean hands.
Even when you are mentioning this issue of the presidential memorandum, you are threatening us that we will not be able to raise 2/3 in both houses. Yet just last week, a few weeks ago, there was a grave matter here where raising 2/3 of the members of the National Assembly and the Senate was not a problem. Where have those 2/3 gone? No wonder the public are criticizing us, that when it is issues to do with us, politicians, it's very easy for us to raise these numbers.
As the light comes in the morning, Honorable Sifuna, is that without addressing the underlying issues, I am not. I am just being honest. Let me finish. I am not. I have been there.
The mandate is very clear. Confined to division of revenue, amendment bill as proposed by the National Assembly, passed by the National Assembly, amended by the Senate, and we have to find convergence.
The proposal to channel to counties at least 400 billion shillings was backed by Kitui Central Member of Parliament Makalimulu, though the question on whether the country is in a position to finance this additional 20 billion shillings after the Finance Bill 2024 was dropped remained unresolved. The clock ticks towards the 30 days given to the mediation committee. It's evident that counties will continue to survive without their share, even as the standoff between Senate and National Assembly continues. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47 Palm Beijings, Nairobi.
All right. Now, concerns over mismanagement within the Community Health Promoters Program, that is CHPs, have surfaced. This was during the Parliamentary Health Committee held today, where the lawmakers demanded urgent reforms amid payroll discrepancies, payment delays, and a lack of transparency, while at the same time casting doubt on SHA's ability to deliver effective universal healthcare. Anodida with all this in a report.
This sitting, our Secretariat and CEO.
The Social Health Authority SHA yet again faces criticism as gaps in its Community Health Promoters CHP's program highlight systemic inefficiencies and alleged irregularities in healthcare delivery. Members of Parliament are questioning the Ministry of Health's management of this frontline workforce.
So there is discrepancy in recruitment, even enrollment, even their purpose.
Key issues include severe discrepancies in CHP numbers and widespread payment delays in multiple counties such as Kajiado and Laikipia, for instance. SHA records show more CHPs on payroll than actively working.
Nyeri has, according to you, the number is 2,475. Yet, you have supported 2,563. Who are these other ghosts that are being supported in Nyeri?
Shah has also faced the backlash over training protocols and registration methods. Many CHPs reportedly lack formal identification and essential medical kits, limiting their effectiveness. Furthermore, questions have emerged about the role of biometrics in registration, as some users reported being asked for biometric data despite Shah's claim that it's unnecessary.
And Honorable Chair allowed me to table evidence because while seated here, when I was redirected together with Honorable Lachi to go to sha.go.ke, I went there. Honorable Chair, I have keyed in my ID number. I have tried to look at my profile. And Honorable Chair, this is a screenshot of the response that I get. It says, Honorable Chair, my biometrics are pending.
Lawmakers now urge Shah to set up assistance desks across Kenya's 290 constituencies to resolve local complaints and to ensure transparent communication, all while the promise of universal healthcare for Kenyans remains in jeopardy. Ann Odida, TV47.
All right, folks, this is what's happening across the country. We will take up a few more stories a little bit later. But first of all, we want to have a conversation with a representative of government, specifically its official spokesperson. And he's here to talk about some of the issues you've actually seen in the news right now. But I want this to be an interactive session. So where you are at home, I want you to send in your questions and send in your comments through our SMS line, which is 22047. Should be on your screen right about now. I'd also like my producer to put up the WhatsApp number so that people can send in their messages on WhatsApp, and I'll be able to sample them and be able to, throw them to our representative here, as well as send in your feedback through our Twitter handle. But first, we're joined by the government spokesperson, Bwana Isaac Mwaura. Karibu sana, Honorable.
Asante sana.
Habari ya masiku.
Tuko salama kabisa.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
All right.
Yes, yes.
We have just had a story on our screen right now about some challenges coming in to something that was initially touted as amazing, as a big change, a game changer for Kenya's healthcare system, the CHPs. Now things are emerging, corruption, inflated payrolls, equipment missing in those packages. What's going on, sir?
Yeah, well, every good intention is sometimes wrought with some people who may not do it well. And it is important, that is why Parliament exists, to check whether there are any discrepancies in what was intended and what is on the ground. Even when it comes to matters law, you have always that challenge of what is and what ought to be. So what ought to be is an intention that is very much encapsulated in the provisions of the programmatic design of the community health promoters, otherwise known as CHPs, previously known as CHVs. And the understanding is very simple. You get 2,500 from the national government, another 2,500 from the county government, so you co-share. We have 106,000 that are enrolled in that program, and also they are given equipment by the national government and county government. And we've been, for example, in places such as Lamu, Wajir, we gave them smartphones and all of that. So if there are any discrepancies in that regard, of course, the Parliament will highlight that with a view to correcting any anomalies.
But one would ask, and this question was actually asked right at the time when the program was being launched. Have there been stress tests? Have there been pilot programs to make sure that the system is foolproof, that everything works correctly? Because, I mean, such shortfalls, the numbers we're talking about in terms of the payroll are quite huge difficulties. Wasn't this envisioned and wasn't this planned properly?
I think, my brother, human is to error. There is no system that is foolproof. But even if you tried, that is why the Japanese have got that, principle of Kaizen, continuous improvement. And so therefore, we designed something. It is not perfect. There are teething problems. But is it working? Yes. It was predicated upon a pre-existing structure of community health volunteers that were never compensated or recognized officially. But remember, the aim of the CHPs, and that remains to be the focus, is prevention. Because as we know very well, the mantra goes that prevention is better than cure. And so my brother, that if there is any problem somewhere, it will be corrected. In terms of programmatic evaluation, we have formative evaluation, which is where you look at what was happening before, and there was a very good design. There is process evaluation, this is what is happening right now, and then there will be also summative evaluation if at all a program is coming to an end. That's what we do in public policy programs. So any process must be reviewed so that we see where there are leakages and seepages, and then it is with a view to correcting it. And I think it's very, 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 very procedural.
Fair enough. However, people would wonder, for example, we've had a story in our broadcast this evening about a gas leak in Mombasa that affected some students and they were evacuated and so on, but they were still able to go back and sit for those examinations that were interrupted. With CHPs at the absolute front line of the health situation in the country, and SHA in this case, it's human lives that are at stake. If there are gaps, if there are problems, we pay by blood and lives. Don't you think that's such a steep price to pay for something that should have been envisioned properly?
It is not the intention of the government to have those mishaps. But you agree with me that, as I said earlier, there is no system that is foolproof. And so therefore, we are also learning. Let me take you back so that you understand. His Excellency President William Ruto assented to the 3 SHA bills on 19th of October, 2023 at State House, Nairobi. He came straight from China and assented to those bills, right? The intention was we start registration of SHA by 1st of March so that level 1, 2, and 3 are free. Level 4 to 6, you pay shift. That's why we are saying the shift to shift. Are we together? And then we have the critical, emergency and critical care, in fund. But because of, protracted court cases, doctors strike, clinicians strikes and all of that, we ended up starting this program on 1st of October.
Right. Now, on that note, just a second. I would like to give you some time to take us through, because I understand there's a chronology to this. But my director is telling me we need to take a short break. Okay. And I wouldn't want to interrupt you at that critical moment. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. And please pick it up from where you left off. We'll be right back.
Vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I'm here to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents. Zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja.
We want to use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange naambianga watu tuende Chepsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year, wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided
to cross the bridge, buy his house, and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
All right, welcome back. If you're joining us right now, this is the Daily Report on Thursday, and as you know, it's Insight Tonight. And tonight, to shed some insight, is of course Government Spokesperson, Honorable Isaac Mwaura. Karibu sana, once again.
Asante sana.
Before we went on break, you were answering a question, and if I may, for the sake of those who are joining us right now, there's we had seen some challenges with the CHPs, and in fact there's another question here by one of the CHPs who's asking why are they using their own data bundles to register people to SHA and so on. But the challenges within the new programs within the health sector have more in terms of cost. People are losing lives out there. People are having diseases that are worsening because of this. Isn't this too high a price to pay for something that should have been envisioned and planned properly, would you say?
Yeah, I told you, as I said earlier on, that there is no system that is foolproof. And of course, no government whatsoever would want its citizenry to suffer because of some of these delays. These are not intended. We must really empathize with the families that are affected in one way or another. We are trying our level best as a government to ensure that we bring everything up to speed. And if you allow me, just to show, for example, we have ensured now, the online system is properly working. And that I'm saying even from a personal experience, because I've gone through star 147, hash and afya yangu, and that registered the whole of my family. If it is about resources, already the reductions have started, yeah? And we are paying according to how much you earn. For example, for me, I'm paying over 22,000 shillings. So from as low as 300 to 22,000 or more, actually, for those who may be earning more than myself. And that is a very egalitarian system, because the more you pay, the more you earn, the more you pay. We have, we had a accumulated debt of about 30 billion from the NHIF. We've cleared, I think, about 9 billion now, with 1 billion being for Linda Mama. And already over 13 million Kenyans have registered. That is very, very important. And over 20,000 employers have registered. We have over 9,000 health facilities, including 4,600 for government and about 2,498 for the private hospitals, 55 cancer hospitals. At least now we know that we have those ones, and about 1,414 from the faith-based hospitals. So you see already the system is recalibrating. We of course have done away with the double registration and about 3 million that were rogue registrations. We are targeting to cover over 50 million Kenyans, which of course is very well covered by the 13 because we multiply by 4 or 5. And at the same time also, the packages are more clearer. I mean, you know what you're getting. When you get, it's like maternal health care, normal delivery, 10,000, cesarean, 30,000. And we can go on and on about the various categorizations that we have done. So I think it's working. I personally, for example, and it's good I give that because you start from an individual. I have a member of my family who is at hospital, and that one is working. I mean, I expect that whatever bill that I'm supposed to pay, the SHA will pay that amount. So I think let us agree these delays have come because of the fact that we had these protracted court cases and delays, but we had to start from somewhere, and nothing is perfect. The process will improve as we go on. We're also taking in lessons. We're also reviewing, and once again, we really want to give our sympathies to anyone who has been negatively affected by this transition. Transitions are never easy in whatever way. Yeah.
It's only in this case that the transitions actually cost lives, that the cost in lives is quite significant out there. But we'll come back to that in a moment. Now for a business story here. Folks, we do need to brace for tougher times ahead. The government says that it has absolutely no option but to tighten the belt on taxes and leads to offload the huge debt in the country. As the country channels over 60% of its yearly revenues to settle outstanding interests from accumulating debt. Hibak Saeed now tells us more about this.
Amidst a stabilizing currency and reducing bank base rate,
if you look at where inflation is now, you're talking about inflation around the same rate as the advanced economies.
Kenyans are still feeling the pinch of a reducing purchasing power. For the next year at least, the situation is going to get even more dire as the government plans to pay at least 2.1 billion shillings per day to service only interest accrued on existing domestic debts, with the outstanding principal remaining untouched. This is according to senior advisor in the Council of Economic Advisors for State House, Moses Kuria, who says in a tweet that Kenyans must work towards removing themselves from the slavery of servicing such accumulating debt by expanding the tax base. Sentiments shared by the president's chief economic advisor, David Ndii, who said there will be no tax relief anytime soon, insisting that the only way to settle the existing outstanding debt is by pushing hard lines in tax collection, and until the country gets out of IMF receivership.
Why those macroeconomic reforms and macroeconomic interventions become very, very fundamental around agriculture, energy, housing, not just because of their impact on the monetary economy, but also because they underpin the macroeconomic framework that we want to have.
This as Budget and Appropriation Committee Chair Ndindi Nyoro now says poor revenue collection due to the thwarted Finance Bill 2024 is pushing extreme cuts to the current financial year's budget, as various critical state departments, state agencies, and other relevant bodies face unprecedented slashes with dwindling public cash.
But before here, we had a budget of 4.2 trillion. After what happened in July, we revised. And the revision took two shapes. One, a downgrade in expenditure, but also an upside in a projected deficit.
Hibak Said for TV47.
Right, thank you, Hibak, for that. Folks, I know that's something all of you and all of us who are employed are concerned about. So, Mr. Mwara, talk to us a little bit about this. Ever since it looks like this country has been on a trajectory of tightening our belts ever since COVID-19 hit and we're trying to recover. And the tightening of the belts has not stopped since. And now the government says we need to tighten our belts even further.
Yeah, it's not something that has happened just as a goal. It's something that was always expected. And I can tell you without a doubt, my brother, I have been a member of the Finance and Budget Committee of the Senate as a Vice Chair. and also a ranking member of the Budget and Appropriations Committee of the National Assembly. As way back in 2014, we knew, and I put it very clearly in Parliament, that whichever government that will come to power in 2022 will almost have no country to run. Reason being, the increasing public debt against revenue. And if you look at clearly, you find the ratio of our revenue to GDP has really reduced from as high of 22% to as low of 14, 15%. Now, that has meant that there is a huge deficit occasioned by the fact that increasingly, on the other hand, we have a lot of debt to pay, debts that are short-term, maturing very fast for infrastructural development. Now, we still are expanding our government expenditure. We now have a devolved system. The first charge is about 400 billion to the counties, which are doing great things, by the way. I was in Kirinyaga the other day, and I can see for sure changes happening there. I was in Bungoma, I was in Kwale. So devolution is a revolution. But then it also means that we have to find new revenue-raising measures, because if whatever we are getting taxed goes to paying public debt, we've got to find a new way of doing it. And there's no way of going to borrow and over-borrowing. Of course, we are still borrowing because we have a concessionary loan from the IMF, about 78 billion. We also have another one, 34 billion from the Chinese to build roads, because we still need to do, to actually finance our development. But also we are now moving into what you call the PPPs, public-private partnerships, for huge infrastructural projects like now the Adani, airport, so that we, right now, 7.6 million Kenyans against 8.2 currently, yet that was projected way back. And this is a 1978 airport. You have the blackouts, in other jurisdictions they may, call load shedding. And now here we have a new strategy of about 76 billion to do away with that at Adani Energy. And even if you look at around the issues of expressway, it's a PPP project. The rural affordable housing is a PPP project. So we look at different models of development financing. But be that as it may, please remember we are operating with the revenue-raising measures as encapsulated in the Finance Act of 2023, rather than the one of 2024, which fell because of whatever happened. So really, right now, we need to find at least another 170 billion so that we are able to plug the hole that is within our development expenditure financing. And that means we have to find new ways of doing it. Is it working? Yes. Let me tell you how. Let's take, for example, the case of affordable housing, the housing levy. We are talking about having 124,000 houses being constructed right now, providing over 160,000 jobs to our young people. We are talking about 75 projects in 37 counties, to the extent that with about 500,000, you are able to afford a house. Now, that is a game changer. Absolutely, because our demand and supply in a normal market is only able to give us about 50,000 mortgages. But now, we have a target of 200,000 houses a year. We started late, again, because of these delayed cases on Waterview. If we are able to do that in the next 10 years, God willing, we'll have built 1 million homes, which would actually be able to shelter about 5 million Kenyans. So you're having decent housing. That's transformational.
It is.
Now, let me explain further. If you look at, for example, opportunities to raise more revenue, you ask then, where are these jobs? And I will also answer you and tell you digital jobs. I will tell you, for example, now we have over 100 Jitume hubs in our technical vocational colleges, and people are earning money. I remember going to Rift Valley Institute of Science and Technology, and I found some young people who have told us by then they had made over 3 million shillings. They were students. Some of them, out of that money, they are able to educate their children, their siblings, I beg your pardon. They are able to, start businesses. They are able to support themselves even in school. I went to Kirinyaga, I found others. I was in Kwale, I found others. I have been, so you can see there is benefit in terms of that digital superhighway and the creative economy.
Fair enough, but there's also the burden on the taxpayer All these things, all these development programs, all these ideas, all these things supposedly to take our nation forward. And indeed, some of them we've seen. But it comes, all that weight comes on the taxpayer. The payslips have been shrinking, and they have not stopped shrinking. It's been years since many Kenyan workers have received as much as a pay rise. The inflation rate has been going up. The cost of food has been going up. The cost of healthcare has been going up. They say Kenyans are just one disease away from poverty, or one job loss away from poverty. Yes, we have 200,000 schools. Affordable housing projects per year, that's the plan. But at what cost? Can you tell us if there's a plan for this government to actually lessen the burden of taxation on Kenyans and maybe even find more creative ways of raising money other than taxation?
My brother, let me first correct you. Inflation is not going up. And for those who may not understand, inflation is actually the loss of value of the money itself.
1,000 bob doesn't stretch as far as it used to, essentially.
No, let me explain. Let's talk about numbers, not about imaginations. Last year, inflation was at 6.9%. This year, it's at 2.7%, my brother. Last year, at a time like this, a packet of unga was 170 shillings. Today is actually almost 100, it's just slightly more than 100 bob, my brother. If you look at the cost of 1 kilogram of sugar that we used to import, the government has been able to waive those debts. Now we are no longer importing sugar. We are having 1 kilogram at about 120, 130 shillings. When you look at, for example, even the cost of gas, it has come down, to 1,000 bob. When you look at even, the cost of fuel, it has come down. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about the cost of living, is it the real or imagined? Because according to me, from this government, the fertilizer subsidy is very noble. It has,
I'm talking about people on the ground right now. We have, right now, as we speak, and I'm reading from a supermarket, one of the popular supermarkets that Kenyans shop from. Those prices that you're saying, and this, it's not as significant as you're saying. The drop is not as significant. Right now, a packet of 2 kg unga is going at one outlet is quoting 120, another outlet is quoting 150, another outlet is quoting 147.
So let me just also actually...
Yes. To be fair, some of those goods may have gone down. But this month, every employed Kenyan has just had a 2.75% deduction on their salary for SHA. 2.75% of their salary. So fine, while other things are easing on this end, they're worsening on the other. The question really is there a plan to ease the burden of taxation, to ease the burden on Kenyans out there? Can you tell us something? Give some hope.
Yes, a lot of hope. 2.75, you said. When the system is being worked on and is going to work, it means you will not have to be only one bill away to poverty. Are we together?
But the system isn't working.
No, it is working because I am experiencing it working, my brother. I just told you I'm enjoying benefits of SHA.
You are, but we've just lost some people on SHA as well.
Let's not be pessimistic. When I contribute more than what my SHA would pay for my bed, I'm helping other Kenyans. And that is the spirit of patriotism. Are we together? Then things take time to take root. Right now we're in the midterm. When eventually these things work, people will see the benefits. And already, we can't talk about things not working. Personally, I can tell you without a doubt, I've talked to women working in the construction sites, and they're telling me now I'm able to earn 30,000 shillings. I have somewhere to wake up to go to in the morning, so I'm not idle. Another one is a woman engineer who is now able to get somewhere to do their practicals. You find someone telling you how they are fabricators and they have been given a contract of 150 million in Thika. Are we getting? These are Juakali people who have never seen this kind of money heretofore. When you talk about cost of unga, you yourself, you told me there is a supermarket selling 120. What was the price when we were going to the elections? The real market price? Over 230. So is that not significant? Is that not the project? I was speaking to the chairman of National Cereals and Produce Board, Governor Mbaye, who was former governor for Tharaka Nithi. There is actually surplus supply of maize. Okay, when you look at the cost of fuel, which affects all other pricings, has it not stabilized? So really, there's the perception and the reality. And sometimes when you talk to tell people that the cost of living has gone down, they don't want to hear. They don't want to. I don't know why, but I want to tell you, my brother.
Maybe because they feel different.
No feelings. Let's leave.
They experience different. These are the guys that are paying these things. We cannot discount how they feel.
No, I'm not trying to discount how they are feeling, because feelings are personal. But it's also good to explain what is happening, so that people can also maybe change their feelings and know the reality is that the cost of living has actually, in my humble submission, according to the data that is presented there, has gone down. In fact. We need to really be grateful because the government was able to forestall a defaulting of the payment of the 2 billion euro bond. That in itself has increased ratings of the country. That in itself has made that we have received more foreign direct investment in the year 2023 than any other country in Africa, over $800 million US, more than South Africa, more than Nigeria. We were the highest in Kenya. In Africa. Are you getting? So that means people are coming to Kenya because it is a true nice destination. Look at the dollar. You know, let's look at the dollar.
All right.
At some point, now let me explain. It was 162 shillings. Now it's 127. It's one of the strongest currencies in the world after Argentina. Those are the things that we need to look at, other than the usual politicking and negative and propaganda and misinformation and disinformation.
All right, we'll come back to that in a second. But let's have a look at what the markets are doing. And apparently Safaricom's half-year profit to September has fallen by 17.7% to 28.1 billion shilling from 34.1 billion. This is due to the depreciation of the Ethiopian birr, that's the currency. The telco's CEO, Peter Ndegwa, says that the nosedive from the Ethiopian subsidiary came from its 106.3% currency depreciation, forcing Safaricom to revalue its liabilities, including foreign currency borrowing and lease agreements. Despite this, Kenyan baselines for this particular outcome are actually looking somewhat positive. Let's have a look at this story from Hibak Saeed for our business segment. Of course, we're talking about Safaricom, and the baselines, of course, grew somewhat marginally from to about 77.2%, or rather 77.2 billion shillings from 77.37 billion. Let's have a look.
Without the adjustment of the currency depreciation, in ETB terms, which is what they earn their revenues, the revenue actually tripled to 2.3 billion bar in the first half of the year. And the performance is majorly driven by mobile data, which contributes 77.8% of the service revenue. M-Pesa is just about 1 year and it's gaining traction, and also some of the use cases are now coming up. One of the important use cases that we have seen traction is use of airtime, buying of airtime through M-Pesa.
We have seen acceleration in customer acquisition, in retention, but also strong mobile data usage. We've grown our customer base by 47.3% and continue to be impressed by the data usage. We've closed at 6.6 gigabits per monthly active customer.
Now over to something I think a lot of you Kenyans would appreciate, something about safety. And ride-hailing application Bolt will reduce emergency response time to at least 5 minutes after it is triggered. This is as they await customer influx during the festive season. Bolt Kenya General Manager Linda Ndungu says that the company is investing at least 14 billion shillings to enhance safety feature tools and enhance trip anomaly triggers. This comes in the wake of nationwide outrage triggered from an increasing number of femicide cases.
Before Vera, we play the video on anything like the amount, the you will see a myriad of other features coming in the next couple of months. And by the way, the 14 million is over a period of 3 years. So it's really had this here to also confirm to you that, look, we do have a driver engagement center, and where you're seated is actually our driver engagement center. This is the building that are not just sitting somewhere, sorting out drivers on our part. We are very committed to making sure that this is happening. So welcome to our driver engagement center officially for those who've never been here. So we can go ahead and play, and then I'll have it.
Sports news.
Vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I'm here to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents. Zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja.
We want to use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange naambianga watu tuende Chepsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights,
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
strategies,
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
and stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
For undeserved populations. Somebody else here finally asks about, and I imagine as a father and as a husband, the femicide cases obviously have touched you somewhere. Can you talk to us about the government's position going forward on this? People are feeling unsafe and they're wondering whether the government is looking out for them. What would you say, please?
Let me start with the last one.
Yes, please.
About femicides. It's of course very unfortunate, and we've lost 97 women in 90 days. As per the police statistics. And as a result of that, the government wishes to strongly condemn these heinous acts and will not rest until these people who are responsible are brought to book. It's very important that we state that very clearly, because there is no justification whatsoever that our women should be killed by anyone for whatever reason. They should be able to enjoy their lives. They should be able to have freedom of movement and association. And we need to protect them so that we take precautionary measures so that we do not come to regret when it has happened. And I want, on behalf of the government, to send my sincere condolences to all of them that are affected and tell them that we stand with them in this time of difficulty, and wish to tell every girl that is watching and every woman that we do whatever it takes within our powers to ensure that you are protected. And having said that, also, it also boils down to the one thing that we want to really make sure that we are very committed as a government to ensuring that the 5 pillars that are a priority amongst many other, a myriad of issues that we are supposed to address, that we will make this sure to work. That shift to shift is going to work. There has been resistance because there are people who are benefiting from the system. There are people who are gaming the system. Of course, they wouldn't want that to work. We've removed those rogue ones. Of course, every system may be prone to abuse, but we are trying our level best to ensure that we remove the burden of care and the fact that people have been impoverished by medical bills to be a thing of the past. Okay. We also have a lot of indigents. People who can't pay won't pay. We want to have a system that then they are also cushioned by those who God has blessed a little bit more.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the spokesperson of the government, Honorable Isaac Mwaura. Karibu sana, and thank you.
Asante sana.
Absolutely.
Na tuseme, we are actually happy for TV47.
Thank you.
Let's believe in our country. Hii ni nchi nzuri zaidi. Kenya itainuka. Kenya itasimama. Kenya itanawiri kwa umoja na uzalendo. Mimi ni Mkenya mzalendo. Je, wewe? Let's be patriotic.
I couldn't have said it better myself. My name is Victor Muyakane. I wish you a good night full of God's blessings. Up next is your weekly sporting action, supercharged sporting action in the program VAR. Good night.